My name's Chris.
And I'm Kristie.
And I'm Jay.
This is the Washing Up Podcast presents This is Sydney and North America Calling.
Woohoo!
Oh, it's fantastic to have you on after what the fuck was that happened in the John Olasand Super Spreader Dome over there in the Netherlands.
Now, one thing I have to ask, Jay, did you have the same thought as me? When you're seeing the bracelets on everyone in the audience, I just feel that they're all temperature gauges, and if anyone spikes their temperature during it turns red and they're escorted from the dome.
Yeah, I expected it's like a Black Ops thing where if like they go above 37 degrees Celsius, they're escorted and like kidnapped and carried outside.
Thrown into the same soldati fray.
Exactly.
Is in, yeah.
So, and they go for a silkwood shower.
So we have to unpack whatever the hell that was.
It does feel like a bit like a fever dream. I mean, don't get me wrong. For fever dreams, it's quite a hot one. I'm here for Italy. Their looks. It's, yeah. How are we going to structure this, Chris?
Okay, I'm going to structure this.
Come on.
I'm going to structure this in the weirdest possible way because we're just going to basically jump around wherever the hell I feel like running. And we need to start with, well, there's a few things we need to start with. We can start wherever we want. I'm going to start personally with the fact that my biggest complaint from this evening, there are two. One, I don't care how Swedish and delightful he is. I don't care how much of a crime author he might be. He's not Jon Olasand. Give me Jon Olasand.
I agree.
You know, it's a new era.
Who goes to run a Norwegian broadcaster? I mean, Jon Olasand is the answer to that, but still. I'm disappointed in that. And also, you wouldn't have got this on the Australian coverage. Miff Warhurst, who's one of the two Australian commentators, and we will talk about them a bit later, at one point went, I wonder if he's got a catchphrase. He's been using the catchphrase all week. And she's like, I wonder if he's got a catchphrase.
Yeah, you're good to go.
Yeah, it's like he's been saying that all week. Right?
Yeah.
Just bizarre. Mm-hmm. So, secondly, and far more importantly, yes. Nikkie tutorials.
Fucking amazing.
One, fucking amazing. Two, should have used them all.
Yes.
Yes, I agree. And that dress tonight, holy shit.
Oh, God. She was like outstandingly stunning. It's just...
I presume she's doing her own makeup because you wouldn't want to be fucking her makeup artist, hey? You'd go in and you'd just be like, why am I here?
Did you imagine her in a makeup chair? Don't touch me.
Yeah. No. Someone just put the camera there. Let me talk.
Don't touch me.
Hi, guys.
She just needs a ring light. She's good to go.
No shit.
Oh, so I feel like we should skim through the running order.
Yeah.
And once we've skimmed through the running order, we can talk about the voting and the results and all of the other crazy shit that happened.
Mm-hmm.
So the running order. So we open the night with Alejandro, the Lady Gaga classic. Obviously,
Gaga Sans Monsters is what I called it, but yes.
Look, she didn't win Eurovision, but she's going to be on the circuit doing the Lady Gaga tribute show in her
absolutely
Beyonce sexy sale outfits.
This all of the sexy. There were lots of them, and we talked about it the other day about the fact they were all wearing the same dress.
Yes.
But when they backed the first and second act onto each other and they each did have that dress on, it felt like she walked off stage from El Diablo and handed the dress over.
Exactly.
And then they were able to whip it off and get it over to the top of a building so that Elena
Paparizou could wear it.
Yeah, because she could wear it for her little rooftop performance.
Yeah, like I did feel like they were just sharing it around. It was like everyone was passing it around. Cyprus, look, she's tried to up the energy. It was like so many of them tonight, at the detriment of anything that vaguely resembled notes. Right. But yeah, there were a few of them, and I don't know. Again, I don't know what the Swedish coverage was like on this, but the Australian coverage kept on ignoring a lot of the bum notes and was like, oh no, it's a wonderful anthem for insert whatever here. And I'm like, it's crap.
No, they never said anything about tone deafness, flat, sharp, nothing, not a word. I mean, now our own household did. But...
And again, like I said it in the semi-final, I think it bears repeating. Has anyone ever sung with less passion about the devil?
Probably not. That's a very good point.
You know, Anton LaVey is rolling in his grave. You know, Satanists across the world are like, come on. You know, this is our, I mean, imagine someone singing lacklusterly about Jesus. They'd be rioting in the streets.
It would be. Albania, apart from the fact that she borrowed the Cyprus dress, do we remember anything about them?
The only thing about Albania that I saw, and I'm sure this is my North American influence, is she's constantly got that like Melania Trump squint of, I need a green card. Yes, that's what it looks like to me.
I mean, that part of the world did give us Melania, so, you know, it makes sense.
It was Albania Trump.
Albania Trump.
Albania Trump.
It's like blink twice if you need us to rescue you.
Now, in the Australian coverage, they did, and look, some people went, oh, it was very sarcastic the way he said it, where he said, you know, this voting competition should not be about politics before Israel. And my response was, okay, great, fantastic. Let's not make it about politics, even though it's Eurovision and it's all about politics.
Right.
Let's just talk about the fact that Israel was crap.
Actually, I didn't think they were that bad. I
think the song's insipid.
Let Jay have his...
You know what? It was... I've lived in Israel. So for me, it was a great departure to see an Ethiopian Jew, frankly, do that. So for me, that's what I took away from that, and that she did it great. I thought she nailed it. Whether or not it's the cup of tea that you drink, that's entirely a different thing. But I thought her execution was pretty good. I think her execution in the semi was better. But it was pretty good.
And if we look at the micro politics, as you say, Jay, she's an Ethiopian Jew. And okay, so I like watching Pimple Popper videos, and one of them is this Jewish guy who talks a lot about Israel and like the different things that go on there. And he was talking how he's like I think he's Russian, and his family migrated. And when the Russian Jews were there, they were like treated like shit. Like in Australia, we had in the 1950s, you know, this big thing against Italians and Greeks who came over. So I feel it was in the same vein as that. He goes, but he could change his name to be more like, you know, Israeli. He could, he's got a lighter skin. So he, you know, changed his accent and stuff.
Good pass.
Yeah. And he said for the, you know, the African Jews that are coming into Israel to live, they don't have that privilege. And it's, you know, the racism there is still so, you know, looking at it from a micro-political context, it's great that she's out there representing.
Yeah. And I mean, from my experience, which is obviously on the outside looking in, because I'm not Jewish, they're the Jews don't want.
Yep.
And it's kind of sad.
Oh, look, you know, it's, you know, people think Australia is such a welcoming, inclusive country and friendly, and we're one of the most racist places on earth. So
Canada's has its issues too. I mean, let's every country does. But you know, I thought her execution was good. It was not, she, you know, as I always say, she's no Dana International. But
Who is? Who is? My thing about it was the reason why I think it's crap is that she clearly does have a really good range and a good high range. I think the song did nothing for her.
Yeah, but does Israel really want to host Eurovision again within, like, you know?
I mean, they don't want to. They don't want to, but I mean, you can at least do something that's a little bit better.
Yeah, but they've got to, you know, they've got to put their money into other things.
There are other things,
like
yes,
ammunition.
Right. So,
I know, I went there. Moving along.
This is brought to you by Skydome
Technology. Moving along to the most appropriate follow-up we could do.
They have to make extra phone calls these days. Sorry.
Moving along to the most appropriate next song ever, The Wrong Place. So...
Oh, God, that song was lovely, but in the wrong place.
So...
Oh, my God.
I loved that there seemed to be, when they got to the televote, there seemed to be a shock from some people that they got so few votes, to which I was like, have you heard this competition? Did you listen to that? And did you hear everybody before the competition going, how the hell did that clear the semi-final?
You know what I found the most interesting thing about that song?
Yep.
That her mic receiver was kept in the back of her top right shirt.
Yes, I have been going on about this for the semi and the final. I've been sitting here going, how the hell is she walking comfortably?
She's not.
Like, that is in the wrong place. It's literally in the wrong place.
She's got skinny little legs.
Oh, I'm just like, I'm watching, like, I thought that they were trying something, right? And I think Blanche tried that low tempo, and did a really good job of it. When you get a middle-aged band longing for a return doing it, doesn't quite play as well as it does with an angsty 17-year-old.
Particularly when one of their lyrics was, a dare to put in about the Johnny Cash t-shirt.
Yeah, who does that? Who enters a song in Eurovision with a dare of fit in the line about my Johnny Cash t-shirt?
It didn't belong.
It was in
just
the wrong place.
That's all we can say.
It was it had such an appropriate title.
Yes.
There were a couple of those. Now, Russia. Mm-hmm. I look forward to her claiming immunity and asylum soon.
She's going to have to, because half the shit she's going, half the shit she showed on screen is going to get her arrested.
Look, I really, really, really fucking like her.
I do too.
And we talked about this before it started, and I said my biggest concern about that song is because of the way it is, it had the potential to become a car crash if it got out of control. But she did such a good job of that.
And I like that you got there by a popular vote. But it's so saddening that we live in an age where you're looking at the background and there's all these Russian women, whether they're, women who are born with vaginas or women who claim that gender because that's who they are in the background. And you worried for their safety. Yep. You know, it's just, and I think it's beautiful that, she was able to get out there and show that not all Russia is.
It's also definitely the last time that Russia allows independent votes to take their
Eurovision. Absolutely.
I highly recommend, by the way, if you haven't seen them, and look, I haven't been the biggest fan of Wee Wee Blog's Eurovision coverage this year. I think it's been a bit weird, and they've had some people on the coverage who are just more about themselves being weird and creating a character than their normal Eurovision analysis. But they did the Wee Wee Blog's live from home performances. She did an amazing performance on that. I recommend checking it out on YouTube.
Oh, I will.
Absolutely brilliant. She didn't do Russian women. She did two other songs instead, protest songs about women's rights and about rights. That was fantastic.
Yeah.
She's so good.
She was one of the strong ones tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Her performance was great. And I normally hate praising Russia. Like, I really don't like praising Russia in Eurovision. I think most people have a similar reaction, but she was fantastic.
You have to in this case, you have to take the performer and judge the performer, not the country they're air quotes representing, because it was really in your face.
Yeah, she was not defending Russia.
She was subversive.
Yeah.
She was subversive of Russian politics, which I love to see.
It was great.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to number 6. Europe, what the fuck are you doing? So number 6, Malta, Destiny. She fucking killed it.
She did.
Her vocal performance is extraordinary. Like,
I will maintain she had the strongest vocal performance at Eurovision.
Consistently perfect.
Like, and listen to when she gets to the breakdown bit just before the final chorus, her vocal range and control, like all this crap that we heard during the competition about Moldova going for the longest note in Eurovision history, right? She couldn't hit any notes.
Waited for that goddamn note, Moldova.
Yeah. Like, exactly. But that was the thing. Like, all they talked about was one note. She couldn't hit any of them. Destiny, on the other hand,
she had one note
and she couldn't get it. You had one note.
You had one job.
Exactly. But I thought, look, pre-show, she was one of our 2 favorites. and she crushed it.
Yeah, she really, I mean, going in, I thought she was going to take it. I really thought she was going to win it. I'll be honest, my top two picks were her and Iceland.
Yep.
I thought one of them would take it, and I'm disappointed and sad and bummed and upset, but she didn't get the showing she deserved.
No. Look, this is one time where they are right when they talk about the way that they put the show together. I think putting her at 6
made her forgettable.
Hurt her completely. She was buried.
Yeah.
And I also think she did herself a disservice because she was going to change up her outfit. And this is the only time, and this is not for any kind of fat phobic reasons. She could go out in there in a fucking bikini and I think it's beautiful and wonderful. But I think because there were so many women in the short silver outfit with the spanglies, perhaps she may have,
done something to stand out a bit more.
Yeah.
But
maybe, but I mean, because, quite frankly, because she's a bigger woman, she's a bigger presence. She brings that voice. She has a stage presence, which most of those other women don't.
No.
You want to talk about vocal range, we'll talk about France when we get to France. I like the idea of the song, but she doesn't have the power to pull it off.
No.
Now, Destiny, she could have just... I'm beside myself. I'm speechless because she really has that power.
Yeah.
She can completely massage a song.
To me, she is... she's on the same level as Aretha Franklin, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And I think the interesting thing for me was, and when we'll talk more about the voting, obviously, later on. But the interesting thing for me was the audience reaction when the Malta vote was read out, where the audience was furious.
I, honest to God, I know that you always get people going, oh, Eurovision's rigged. But there are two things that have happened during this Eurovision that I think are quite suspicious. This is one of them.
And the other one we'll come to in a minute when we get to number 12.
Yeah.
So when we get to number 12, we'll talk about the second one. Portugal. I love Portugal. I think he's cool.
I like the song. He kind of seemed to me like a sad chihuahua that yipped, and I couldn't get past it. It was just like nails on a chalkboard to me, and I think the song in somebody else's hands could have been okay.
I think
the staging reminded me of the Beatles' Love from Vegas,
I'm saved from hating the way like with that thing there because I go back to Portugal's, winner. And as long as you're better than him, you're great.
Yeah,
yes. And yes, he also looked like a long-haired dachshund. But
but you can get the feeling that I don't get the feeling that he hates Eurovision in the way that the former winner does,
No. Yes.
I think he was suckered in because he does a little bit of a Prince guitar.
Yes.
I think you kind of, your little Prince crush
possibly
got a bit tickled there. I mean, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it.
Look, the song is good.
Yeah.
The song was good. The personality type, if I saw him in the street, I'd probably have your reaction.
Look, he'd probably try to sell you a deconstructed hot chocolate.
Yeah, he would try to sell me a deconstructed hot chocolate. I'd have chocolate in one flask. I'd have a beaker of milk.
It would be beyond that. You'd get the cocoa.
And a milk?
Yes, and a milk. And you'd have to...
Then you have to roast it.
Yeah.
Would you like a deconstructed hot chocolate, sir? Why, yes, that'll be 4 to 6 weeks.
And the hot plate you roast it over would have to work off like something attached to his bicycle that's on a stand. Yes.
Pedal.
No carbon footprint here.
No, none whatsoever.
Then we move to Serbia. Do we have any thoughts on Serbia?
Puffy lips.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like the Kardashians went to Serbia, and also, if you're gonna go to try to be a redhead and you're dark haired, you really need to strip your hair or you look orange.
Yes.
Yeah. I do appreciate that they've gone, you know what? We've got to all have different personalities. So let's make our hair extensions all different. But they went to the Beyonce Setsy sale. I don't know if you heard our belief that Beyonce was, emptying out her closet. I also think that every single one of their outfits could be worn by Busy Phillips in Girls 5 Ever, if you haven't.
Yeah. It was the first, we're sitting here and Kristie just looks at me and she goes, Busy Phillips could be all three of these girls.
You are absolutely correct. Yes. Absolutely nailed that.
Without a Dawn to write the song for them.
But you know what? They're fun, and if they were performing live at a party, you'd get up and dance. You know, like that's.
You would get up and dance. You'd also look at them and go, "Did you see their hair?"
Yeah, but in Serbia, they're probably considered ugly.
Well, the other interesting part was that, like, Miff Warhurst on the Australian coverage, one of the rare times she didn't annoy us was when she said, "As a woman, I just want to give them a hair tie." Because by the end, they were very frizzy.
But I mean, let's face it, they relied a lot on hairography.
Yes.
They a lot on hairography.
It was all hairography.
It was the most hairography this year.
Oh, by far. Oh, by far.
Yeah, it was coming after Italy with their hair, but Italy wasn't about the hair.
No, they were about the abs.
Okay, let's talk about
sweet abs.
Let's talk about James. So, look, Brexit is part of it. The song itself was not very good.
No.
James, you could tell, I kind of felt like he was into it last year, and this year they just went, well, we'll send you again because no one really wants to go. And he wasn't as into it, but it was a song that was upbeat, so he had to be. And I just felt that he was going through the motions, and he was there for a bit of a piss up in Amsterdam.
Look, you know, the red light district, the other sorts of cafes and
I mean, after they cut to him after he performed, I mean, he already had a bottle of champagne in his hand, so he was,
and then at the end,
he did his part.
And then at the end, his celebration.
Yeah. I mean, I feel, yes, the Brexit thing is just, it's kind of sad and awful that he got 0 points. I'm sorry. Hold on. We need to pause. My dog is drinking. I'm so sorry.
No, don't apologize.
No, include the dog.
Yes.
Oh, okay. The dog's drinking. Okay.
We're not editing this, by the way. We're leaving the dog.
Leave the dog. She's 14. She's drinking.
What's your dog's name so we can give them credit?
Sierra,
that's right.
Yes.
Ooh.
Sierra. So I mean, he did okay. I think he tried to sell what was given to him. And I think he was glad to get out of the UK for a brief period of time and probably tell everyone he was Irish. So
yeah, exactly. The trumpets were a choice. The giant trumpets next to his head were a decision, and I'm not sure it was a good one, but it was a decision.
Well, and the tunic thing, I mean, I'm like, why is it every time they get a guy that's kind of broad and a little round and they put him in something square and tunicky?
And not only that,
and another friend of mine said, wait, that's his because I've seen it on his Instagram post. And I'm like, okay, well then that's a choice.
And the vertical stripes. It's like, oh, I'm fat. I need to wear black and vertical stripes. And
those weren't just vertical stripes, they were zippers.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, that was zippers. So easy access to whatever part he wanted. So it's
please, he made he's a very itchy person. It's like, quick, to my scapula.
I am no small man, but I'm not going to wear something squarey and tunicky with zippers going vertically. I mean, come on. Doesn't he have a gay friend?
Maybe. In one of my deep dive comedy moments that only 3 people on the planet will get, there's not the 9 o'clock news sketch where Rowan Atkinson is like dressed like a punk and goes to the toilet and he tries to pull down his fly, but of course he's wearing a punk jacket, so he can't work out which zipper it is. So he just spends all his like not in there. It's a bit like that. He
goes to find his phone, to pay something in
just taps his body, on the pay pass. Then we get to Greece. Now, Greece, as we talked about in the semi-final, amazing outfit, stunning boots, really bad live performance if you were watching green screen.
Well, I kind of felt like they were calling it in on a Zoom call because of all green screen. I'm like, okay, yeah, it's pandemic-y, but, let's drop a new background, folks.
I know. I really felt like, she was like, just didn't want to show everyone how messy her house was. She'd gotten all gussied up for the conference call.
She was gussied up for a stay-at-home party.
Yeah.
She's been watching Sophie Ellis Bexeter all the way through COVID, doing her house discos.
Exactly.
I'll do this.
Inspired by the Roop.
Now, the other thing, by the way, that I didn't notice in the semi, but I went back and watched it after I read some things, because the green screen in the semi looked a lot worse than the green screen in the final.
Yeah.
What had happened was the act before had a smoke machine.
Oh.
And the smoke was still hanging around, and it played with the green screen.
Oh, okay.
So they were a bit worried, and that was why they were a bit worried about pyro around her, because the green screen got screwed up in the semi-final by smoke wafting across.
But this is also, I think, like Ireland, she was disadvantaged by this shithouse staging.
I agree. Oh my God. Ireland was such a good song. And I'm going to depart there for a minute because I wasn't invited to your semifinal once. But, I love that song, but I felt like she was just running around trying to hit her marks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My face has got to be here. Okay.
Now let's talk a bit more about Ireland, and we'll get back to the rest of it in a minute, but let's talk a bit more about Ireland.
Like, okay, so they probably wanted to depart from the usual staging of
Dustin the turkey.
Well, an Irish woman on stage, nicely dressed up, looking like she's on a Misty Moore. But this is the one time it would have fucking worked.
It would have worked.
It was like they presented like tonight, and we'll talk about it when we get to the interval stuff. When they had Neve Kavanagh there singing "In Your Eyes," that was brilliant. Neve Kavanagh was "In Your Eyes." The Johnny Logan is historical thing. He was fighting in the booth, but like they let her just stand there and present the song, and it was perfect. And like she sang the song really well. They were so worried about her appearing, as you said, hitting her marks, and that would have taken so long to nail. It was pointless.
But also, when you're a performer and you've got to direct your energy and engagement, and she's there, having to focus it in on these small little, like points of focus for the television.
Right.
She it completely, like when she came out to the whole stage, it's like she opened up. There we go. There's a call. To the audience, and it was, uplifting and alive and engaging, and it just,
she was like, okay, I'm done with that shit. Now let's sing.
Let's sing something. And I mean, like, it was one of the best songs that Ireland have put forward in a very long time, and I feel really bad that it didn't clear the semi. It didn't clear the semi, but Belgium did. Anyway,
I do think the Irie decided that, like, the TV, the ETV series, decided that, it's too good a song. There's a chance that she could win. We still haven't finished paying off our
last ones.
So,
I mean, remember
have that whole insurance problem. So let's see what we can do to mess it up.
Well, I had a conversation tonight on Twitter, today on Twitter, and we'll mention the Netherlands shortly, with someone who was telling, a friend of mine, and I know you're listening, hi Sarah, who was telling me that the Netherlands was going to do really well. And I went, no, the Netherlands is the song you put out when you don't want to host the competition again. And like, again, the last time that a country tried this actively is Ireland, famously with Rock and Roll Kids, which broke the points record. So, Ireland is still scarred by the 1990s and what it did to the Irish economy, having to host every damn year. So they're still not prepared. They went with Jedward to be a bit popular at one point, but not win. Dustin the Turkey was who the fuck knows. Nondescript Irish gentleman standing on stage looking windswept but not singing very well. And this year they went with cardboard cutouts. So, like, with a good song, but cardboard cutouts. So one of these days they'll be ready to host. Let's talk about Switzerland.
Let's talk about Switzerland.
Okay, so as I said in the semi-final, he surprised me the most in terms of, I thought he was going to turn up and be the drab, boring, I'm ultra serious artist. First of all, he has a lot of personality that I didn't anticipate, and I really like him. Having said that, I thought the song would grow more on me. It actually went the other way.
Yeah.
I thought that it was weird. Like the semi, I really liked his semi performance, and I thought this is going to grow. It was bland.
Yeah. I mean, he did okay with it. I don't like the falsetto. No. It's pushed, it's hard. And when he's singing in the falsetto, his French is actually very hard to understand. And, I applaud the effort.
Mm.
Is where I am on that one. We had conversations, and this is going to be a little mean, about whether or not he looked like a young lesbian or a young Katie Lang, and I said, well, that's the same thing.
Yes.
So, you know, but, you know,
The interesting
it's
part
not my
is
favorite song. It's not my favorite song. I don't like the song.
the interesting part is like all the stuff they did on him with preparation and all the stuff they did with him and his background. He clearly wants to be Elvis Presley. He clearly wants to be doing more up-tempo-ish stuff. So why this is what they've gone with, I don't quite understand. Because I get the feeling he'd actually do a bit lower register stuff really well.
Yes.
Like I
He's
think
got
that
the
range and that personality
Yeah.
could sell it.
He has the range, darling.
He does have the range, darling. Okay. The moment we've all been waiting to talk about. Iceland!
Oh, God.
Play ya ding dong. By the way, that's the only time I will ever accept somebody rambling on in the televote, because that was perfect.
Who do you give your 12 points to?
Ya ding dong.
Okay, if you can't give it to Ya Ding Dong, who will you give it to? Pause.
All right.
Pause.
So on the Australian coverage this morning, they made mention of the fact that the Icelandic positive has since been confirmed to be a false positive.
Did they do that, or they just said he tested negative
Yeah,
today?
well, they said that it's now believed it's a false positive after a negative test, but they still have to isolate from the competition. I don't know where to begin on that one. Like, I really don't know where to begin. It's beyond shit. Dadi has carried Eurovision for 2 years. Absolutely single-handedly kept the competition relevant, kept it in the public eye. He's kept people engaged. He has been far and away the most engaging Eurovision presence in the last 2 years. And beyond that, with the competition itself, if you go back through like Duncan Lawrence winning, and he's the most engaged person in Eurovision. He didn't win the damn thing. And showing the most open love for Eurovision too. His what he's been doing with his Dadi Visions and stuff like that, doing the live performances of all the different songs from different countries. He has done more than anybody else for this competition, and to be robbed of that performance is
it's unspeakable. But there are two things I'll say. He is one of the hardest working. Like even today, I don't know if you noticed his tweet.
Oh yeah.
With the list of everyone who hit that stage.
Yep.
Of these are all the people who are competing, and I was just like, you don't realize it, but he's the only one who sees the big picture out of all of them. But I will say this: he deserved the win, but he doesn't need.
No, he doesn't.
Doesn't need the win.
He's made.
But the thing is,
he's made.
Dadi and the Machine, right? Because I'm not going to pronounce it in Icelandic yet. I'm going to keep practicing, so when we go to Iceland, I can be in there. But they're a group of artists, like every single one, from his sister to his wife to his friends. Okay, there's the dude that's just the funny one, but like Johan created the game, and his sister is a meteorologist, and
Sarah created all the rings for them.
Yeah,
and by the way, was knitting in the green room and sells amazing tote bags. On her Etsy store, and I am actually going to buy one of those, and I am going to buy one of the Dadi hoodies. Because you can buy them with your own head on them, and I'm definitely doing that.
He's an artist. It's authentic. The song is brilliant. This is the thing, is there's a lot of formulaic songs, and we'll get to some of those, but there's a lot of formulaic songs. There's the do 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 cha do do cha, dance songs that come from places like San Marino and such.
Yes.
But then you get and then there's the non wanky ballads, and this is one of them that's just so authentic, so beautiful. And imagine just being his wife, what
does he say? He had to ask. He had to ask Arnie for permission.
I'm just gonna write a love song for you. Will you be on stage and perform at Eurovision with me? She's like, oh, okay.
But they did so much.
Also, I'm pregnant.
Yeah, they did so much, and they were so brilliant. And that semi-final performance,
Mm.
right, blew a lot of the actual performances on the night off stage. And that was a semi-final rehearsal. And they, like, if they had got to be live, I think they might have. I think
in a few more.
I think they might have. They would have. Well, they would have put in a few more votes. To give you an idea, I'll just quickly tell everybody.
Well, let's not forget they've hit fourth.
They've hit
everything. They were fourth.
Yeah, they've hit fourth. Yeah, they've hit fourth, not being there. To give you an idea, Australia's voting was Iceland 12, which was never in doubt. Ukraine 10. I'm very proud of Australia for that. We'll talk about that in a minute. Malta 8. Italy 7, Lithuania 6, because we love the rupee, Switzerland 5, France 4, Finland 3, Serbia 2, and Norway 1. That was the Australian voting.
Public vote.
Public vote. The televote, obviously, we went weird.
Malta for 12.
No, but the rest of them, I think we gave.
Oh no, we gave Iceland 12, didn't we?
Yeah, we gave Malta 12.
That's right.
We gave Switzerland 10 or something on the jury vote because he does well with juries. We'll come back to Iceland again in a minute. Spain,
fuck him.
Look,
Who died?
Well, so again, I don't know the story that Swedish TV told because
Spain.
They really didn't. All I could yell at the TV was "Screaming Spaniard, stop!"
So the story was originally that it was his grandmother. Then it was his mother who died. Then this morning in Australian coverage, they said his father. The rotation of which member of his family died of COVID, because it wasn't all of them. They did say it was one. But
everybody's dead.
Yeah, but everybody's dead, Dave. Everybody's dead. But they were trying for the emotion and the sympathy, but it was terrible. It was
not a good song.
It was terrible.
It was not a good song. It was not a good performance.
I would like to say, though, if they're selling the giant moon, I will take that. We can use that at pagan gatherings. Just,
When it first started, though, I thought it was like that circle thing from what was that Alien film before it actually floated out.
We went with the fully operational Death Star from Star Wars.
That would work. That would work. Unfortunately, his hair was distracting.
Yeah. Now,
but I really feel like his team watched Fire Saga and staged him as the Russian from Fire Saga. Like,
they did work hard on that.
He just needed some gold epaulets.
And a really, really, really affectionate publicist.
That's right.
Now, the interesting part was that this was technically the break between Act 1 and Act 2, which didn't happen. They just rolled straight into Moldova. And I really wish we hadn't, because I said this in the semi, I'm going to repeat it. Natalia is one of my least favorite Eurovision performers.
Yes.
Hey Loco still haunts my dreams. Hey Loco, please, my poco. They just made words up as they went. And at the time, it was basically, I think she was about 18 at the time of that first performance, and she was a very, 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 very skinny, clearly fake platinum blonde with a guy who looked about 30 years her senior, sleazing all over her. And she finishes up wearing a wedding headdress, getting married to him.
Oh, good.
Utterly useless, utterly pointless. In this competition, it was all about the note. Halfway through the song, I would have taken any of them.
Well, right, exactly. She couldn't. She was all over the place at the beginning, and I'm like,
out of breath. Like,
you have one job.
She was locked out of the hotel because she clearly couldn't find a key.
No, she was flat. She was sharp. She was over there.
And then she went length of note, and it wasn't very good.
I mean, yeah, you know what? Here's the thing. Maybe, just maybe, if they'd taken the dancing ice cream cones from the video and incorporated it, it wouldn't have been as noticeable that she couldn't sing the damn song today.
The damn dance.
The idea is you do distraction if your song's not very good.
I also
but I mean, she did okay with it in the semi, if I recall.
It was better than this.
And actually in the semi, because they changed the staging so much from the video, I thought, okay, maybe it's a little more of a contender.
Yes,
But
I feel that she got in late with the Beyonce Setsy sale, but also got in early for the Karen from Finance wig sale.
But when they tossed the dress to her from the Beyonce Sexy sale, she waited too long to put it on, so she really wasn't ready. So she was distracted.
Yeah, it was all over the place. Okay,
and
now
Karen in the workroom during RuPaul Down Under going, "Where's the fucking wig?
Where's the fucking wig?" Anyway, let's get on to one of my personal favorites. I have been telling everyone I love Jendrik.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I really loved this. I know it got 3 votes. I know he was one of
none of them from Jay.
I know he was one
None of them from me.
I know he was one of the big 5 that got nil point on the televote. I'm so pleased it didn't get nil point overall. I like it because it's just silly fun. It's been his lifelong dream to do Eurovision. He wrote a song for the first time ever because he wanted to do it. The documentary online is amazing and wonderful and just makes him look amazing and wonderful. The dancing hand, by the way, she is hilarious. If you see any of the background stuff.
I mean, they got away with a lot.
Yeah.
I think it was definitely on purpose, and I love the fact that it was on purpose. My biggest problem was, and if you're going to sing in English and it's not your first language, don't do something so fast I can't understand what the hell you're saying.
Oh yeah, that's the biggest failing is the fast verse.
You go ding.
It's like I can't follow you. I can't be in on the joke if I can't understand it.
No, it's a good idea. That little fast verse on the recording is great, but that would have been because they gave him several goes at it.
Right.
And live, it had probably 10 extra syllables. And if they'd pulled 10 syllables from it, you can make it work. It was far too fast for someone who English wasn't his first language, and that cost him. But song's fun, and I love it. And
it is. It was the cheese. It's cheese.
Yeah,
it's the cheese of Eurovision.
Ability contest, you know, this is the whole thing. You need a good song.
It'll do great in a song along.
It will.
When the next song along happens, I Don't Feel Hate is going to be right up there. Speaking of hate, Finland.
Ooh, metal pop.
Yeah. So Helsinki Park, they're not Finland Park, they're Helsinki Park. They're a Linkin Park tribute. We Need a Ride Home.
You called them Lincoln Park.
Yeah, I saw that, and that was genius. So it was always going to play very well to people who have like mid-90s nostalgia, early 2000s nostalgia.
Yes.
I also like the fact they made a big deal with Jendrik of they had to make the hand a peace sign, not a middle finger. And then the next song is all about put your middle fingers up. And they take their middle fingers red so that they couldn't actually put their fingers up, but you could quite clearly see what they were talking about.
Look, I loved their larrikin spirit. You know, every time the cameras turn to them when they're in the seated area.
Sponsors product.
You know, just drinking away, being young dudes, drinking.
Heineken sponsors products.
Because they couldn't get their hands on any gin long drink. That's why.
Look, they're going to get a lot of sex out of it.
God, yeah.
Oh yeah, is anyone getting laid more? I mean, Italy maybe, but
to
be fair, I just think Italy's getting laid just constantly anyway. I think they took a break in getting laid to walk on stage.
To know because all the backup dancers, right? You know, like they're these physically fit. I mean, I love the root dancers too. But you know, they're all these physically fit young people, prime of their life in a city that they might not have grown up in. Do they get together for dancer orgies during Eurovision?
I have heard from people that have been at Eurovision. It is pretty much a free for all.
Like, could you imagine like the Matrix backup dancers from that was Albania? No, I can't remember. One of the silver ladies. Maybe it was just what's he that we were talking about? Plus Ukrainian dancers. Not Ukrainian dancers. They're all right.
No, just the Ukrainian band at large. Yeah. And from all of that weirdness, we went to Bulgaria. Now,
insipid Irish.
Okay. every year there's a song that people seem to love, and I don't understand why. Bulgaria is this year's one for me. Jay loves it.
You love it.
No, I don't.
Yes!
No, I do not.
I thought that in the Australian coverage, when the votes were being read out, they were stunned that she only got, I think it was 38 or something. I wasn't. I thought it was insipid, as you said, insipid Eilish. You've been calling her
insipid Eilish. Like, it's one thing to like Destiny show homage. It's another thing to just be not only a rip-off of the song, at least the staging was different, like El Diablo. But then you've got her, whose song is obviously inspired by Ocean Eyes, and then her whole aesthetic and look, which is definitely not her, is based on Billie Eilish. Like, it's just like, come on, grr. She's better than that.
Take it, Jay.
Sorry.
A friend of mine called it the Gen Z anthem, and I think that kind of pretty much it was. I don't know. I mean, her execution was
to be a
good.
millennial.
Yeah, her execution was good.
Yeah,
but I think, like I mentioned Blanche before, like from a couple of years ago with Belgium, and I thought that was a good way to do it.
Yes.
I just thought this was trying. You know what the problem was? I feel like this was trying to, and we'll talk about Sweden shortly. I think this was trying to pander to parts of the audience. They were playing the growing up is getting old thing and playing this aging thing and the melancholy.
Yeah, that's fine.
But they were trying to pander too much.
There was no authenticity. It was like, let's put her in pastels, but all Billie Eilish down to fucking nails.
Yes.
Like, kudos. Like, I love Billie Eilish. I think she's fantastic, but she's her own person. Her clothing choices over the years are her choices. But this is not that young girl's choice.
The other thing was, if you listen to tonight on the Australian coverage, they tried to reframe it that it wasn't about aging. It was about life getting harder as you leave your teenage years and into your early 20s. And it wasn't about this growing up thing about age and time. And they were trying to reframe the conversation, almost like they realized that this idea of this like young girl singing about the problems of growing up was possibly wrong and weird and didn't quite fit. And like they tried to reframe the conversation. I'm like, why are we reframing it? It's pitched to try to win an audience over about, remember when?
Yeah, but
it was done badly.
But when we're young, there's songs like that. Like you wouldn't have gotten it in there's Leaving Home, which you wouldn't have had in Canada from Australia. There's that Green Day song. What's it called? By my lip and close my eyes.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it. But
Hitching a Ride, yeah.
No, it wasn't Hitching a Ride. It was the one about leaving home something. But there's all these kind of growing up songs, and that's cool. But this just feels forced.
It was forced. I agree with you on that 100%. It was not. Okay, we're talking Eurovision here, so a lot of it is forced, and a lot of them are forced to sing songs that are not theirs or ones that they would choose to sing. However, this was uncomfortably forced.
And she wrote it.
Yeah.
She did?
Yep.
She wrote it, but it wasn't her.
There was a team around her, so obviously they gave her a writing credit, but who knows how much she actually wrote of it. Let's go to something that wasn't forced. Let's go to the Roop.
Okay.
It's discotheque. Look, the Roop, much like Dadi, to a lesser extreme, but much like Dadi, they've been a prominent part of the last 2 years. On Fire was probably going to do better than Discotheque did. Discotheque is a better song. I just like the Roop because the Roop were clearly there just to have fun. That was their purpose.
And I'm glad they got as many votes as they did because their fun was infectious.
Yeah.
That was one situation where the audience voted for an act they knew. And there were votes in there that were, we've heard you for the last couple of years and we really like you.
Yeah. Because it's a fun song, You put that on at a party, you're up on the dance floor. You put that on at home by yourself, you're up on the dance floor. Which
is what it's about.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, you could tell they were just having a blast with it. And it was completely infectious.
I don't know if anyone's had more fun at Eurovision this year than the Roop. I don't think so.
No.
The revelation of the whole thing for me, you liked them going in. I really like them now. And a 5th place finish, by the way, Ukraine.
Yes.
Yeah.
They were so good.
I adore Ukraine. Yeah.
And again, another one of the Wee Blogs at Home videos. They do a performance of the Wee at Home doing this song with them baking.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, she's making like fruit dumplings. And like that's this pared down baking thing with her performing. It's so good.
Like
I mean, the
another
song
artist.
itself is really cool. The staging was, you know, when you look at the video versus the staging they had, you know, I loved it more, but in different ways. You know, I mean, okay, you bring her out and she's got a Muppet jacket on and they've got like Tron laser shit and all sorts of stuff. You know, I'm like, okay, this is pretty Eurovision-y. You've really taken it to the next level, but
also inspired by the Matrix, you know.
Carrie Ann, yeah,
exactly. Yeah, very much. And you know, what's not to love? Deuce points. I thought it was fantastic. They took it in a slightly different vein than the introduction video, and I like them both.
Yeah,
they've got range.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I liked I liked their video in that, you know, it was just like a doof out in the middle of like the Ukrainian fucking forest, singing some like folk doof music.
It was great, folk doof.
I don't know. Do you have doofs in Canada? Like
we do not.
In the middle of nowhere? Okay.
No, sadly.
No.
Maybe up north we do.
Who knows what they do up north? Anyway, so let's get to France because I have thoughts.
I do too.
Okay, so we talked about her being Edith Piaf, which they
No,
tried to push.
she tries to be Edith Piaf.
Yeah, I said I meant
She
trying.
is no Edith Piaf.
Yeah. So my biggest problem, I worked out what my problem was because I was trying to pinpoint. I'm like, I like it, but it's the first half is slow and pointless, and then the last bit where she gets a bit more mental is great. And there's a disconnect between the two, but I'm like, there's still something not sitting with me, and I worked out what it was. If this was Eastern European and they were just repeating the same word over and over again, it would be ridiculed about being, the Eastern Europeans are just repeating shit. But because it's in French, there is an automatic default setting that a lot of, especially Western countries have, of something sung in French is beautiful. And automatically, I think it gets a pass compared to, say, something Eastern European. Now, my thing is not so much to criticize her for it as maybe people need to rejudge the way they judge Eastern European stuff when they do the same thing.
Exactly. I liked her concept. I liked the idea of the homage to all the female chanteuses of France. However, she doesn't have she's got a lovely voice. I'm going to say that right off, but she doesn't have that power to back that up. And I think she did well, but I think it could have been executed so much better. But that was my downfall.
Like those, you know, idols from the past have a past, you know, like they're not just their performance. There's a history behind them that comes through, you know, like you can't think of Edith Piaf as this kind of like, she's just gone to an art school and learned and popped out, you know, she's got a whole
there's a life.
There's a life behind that. And it just feels like
when Edith Piaf is singing No Regrets, there's a reason.
Right.
That it does feel like
it's missing that. It's missing that experience, that all that crap that comes along with you.
Yes.
It feels like if France were trying to concoct a past.
Yeah.
Remember when all these people had history?
Look, if she could just go out and get herself an addiction, maybe fall into poverty,
easy,
get screwed over by managers time and time again, we might get halfway.
Exactly. Go get your trauma. Get your trauma.
Go get your trauma.
Yeah. Speaking of traumatic, Azerbaijan.
Oh my.
Now, one of the reasons why I have lost all respect for Wee Blogs, and I know it sounds weird to say I had respect for them in the first place, was their roving list of coverage this year included a bunch of their correspondents you don't normally see, who have been basically sitting there being very arty and weird, and a bunch of them tipped this to come third. And the second they tipped Mata Hari to come third, I lost all respect for Wee Blogs because this was trash.
Yeah, it was.
I don't think she knows who Mata Hari is.
Oh no, she has no idea who Mata Hari is.
And as I pointed out again tonight, for everyone who playing along at home, Mata Hari was Dutch. So,
Or maybe she does, and she was trying to,
Anger?
use that to her advantage.
Well, no, because the thing she was using to her advantage was going with that whole Indian subcontinent feel of the fake Mata Hari story. But that just felt like there was a staging director who went, "Oh yeah, we'll use the themes of Mata Hari." It's just gone, sure.
Yeah.
That can be a sexy spy that looks like Ariana Grande.
If I say the word spy a few times,
it works. But she had some hairography in there with the I'll whip my hair.
I think it's her backup dancers that will go with not San Marino's the other.
The rest of the Matrix.
The rest of the
Yes.
Matrix.
See, Azerbaijan is like we're talking about acts we tuned out. Look, Spain I paid zero attention to, but the other one that I tuned out on was Azerbaijan. I just no.
Yeah.
No. Norway. I like Tix. It was.
I thought
to be.
Yeah, it's a great song. Actually, it's his visuals are very Little Nas before Little Nas, but I
pole dancing and boots.
his exactly. You know what? It's a good song. I like the song. I thought he executed it very well tonight.
It's the most Eurovision song in Eurovision this year.
Yeah, it is, and his story captures me too. That that's a big deal, and I think that's great. So it makes him that much more kind of cool to me.
Yeah.
The Netherlands. They certainly existed.
But I like the song. I know
the song was great.
I like the song.
My thing was with the Netherlands, I've said I was having this discussion with friends, and they were like, "That's a great song. It's going to do well." I said, "It's a great song.
It's not going to do well.
It's not going to do very well." But the Netherlands don't want it to do very well. They've just had 2 years of paying for one Eurovision.
It's like when Sweden sends Sanna Nilsson. It's like, we don't want to win now. Go ahead.
We're done now. Look, is Carola around?
Petra's,
send her again.
Exactly.
Petra's put in for her holidays. We can't host for the next 3 years.
Petra's not available.
She's working on
She's doing some stuff. Like a couple of years' time, Petra's free again.
Yeah.
Sure.
And we can make it happen.
Italy. Okay. Now, I know you have views. We'll start with your views.
It was bold. That's all I'll say. I didn't care for it. Pyrotechnics are great. I had no feelings about it whatsoever.
I feel you there. It's like it was pleasant enough.
Yeah.
It was visually nice to look at. I'm not going to deny that.
Well, it made me want to play X's and O's because of their little leather outfits, but that's really about it.
It kind of does.
It's like, join the rock bitch cult, and I'll be there for it.
So my view on it is, look, I think it's definitely the best rock vocal we've ever had at Eurovision. Lordi wasn't rock vocal. I love Lordi. It's not a rock vocal.
But it was a better song. It was a better Eurovision song.
Lordi is a Eurovision song completely. Like all these people, and there were people tonight commenting about Lordi again, and we'll talk about them in a moment, but going, oh, what a fluke win that was. Go back and watch that Eurovision. They clearly won, and they were clearly the best. It's one of my favorite Eurovisions to watch. It was a great Eurovision. It was loaded, and Lordi were easily the best thing there. But this Italian rock vocal was a brilliant, pure rock vocal. And
yes, it was.
He nailed it every single time. Musically, they were absolutely spot on with what they were doing. Vocally, they were absolutely spot on with what they were doing. Their choreography was brilliant. Their staging was fantastic.
It was.
I didn't necessarily want them to win.
No.
But I wasn't as disappointed as I would have been
if France
had won or if Switzerland had won.
Honestly, I would have taken Switzerland over Italy.
Oh, yeah, but I just don't want another arcade.
Yeah, my problem is, and then you just hit the nail on the head there, Kristie, is that the repeating, everyone copies.
Yeah.
Do we want a year full of that?
No.
Because we'll get a year full of that if he wins. So I think the fact that something up tempo won, as much as rock as not, the other stuff, options obviously, but I think the fact that it was something up tempo, was fantastic because it means not all ballads.
No, I'm sure right now the government of Italy, because I think they're relatively new, I'm sure the prime minister is going, congratulations, fuck.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, no budget.
The BBC is meanwhile going, we'll host. And everyone's going,
no, nobody wants to go to you.
Nobody wants to go to you. Sweden, please, Jay, discuss, because you're watching the Swedish coverage.
Obviously they're fond of Tussi. I think he did a good job. I know it's not your favorite. I thought it was good. It was a good performance. It wasn't the Mamas, you're right. But given what they sent, if it wasn't the Mamas, I was happy with him. But he did better tonight than he definitely did on the semifinal.
My opinion of the song hasn't changed since I first saw it, which was, if you can put all of the Eurovision tropes into a hat and pull them out, the song hits every single one of them.
That's a very good point, Kristie. You are absolutely correct.
It's love, love, peace, peace.
It really is. It's the most love,
it's love, peace, peace without the fun.
Yes.
Without the hamster wheel.
Where was the guy in a hamster wheel?
I mean, I personally think they should bring Mons and Petra back every year to perform Love, Love, Peace, Peace.
Yes.
But, but you're right. That's exactly what it is. Just but more, it takes itself more seriously.
Yeah.
Speaking of taking itself more seriously, San Marino, who's for some reason, there were people before this competition who suggested that San Marino could be a bit of a dark horse. On no planet was San Marino ever going to be a dark horse, and especially not when you've got Flo Rida, who will attend the opening of an envelope, who looked like he had no idea what the hell he was doing there.
What I love the people, though, who took the picture of her and labeled it as Flo Rida. And I'm like, you guys have no freaking clue who the hell you're talking about.
He wore jorts to Eurovision.
I'm okay with that. I wear jorts.
Yeah, but you wouldn't wear them on stage at Eurovision because Flo Rida didn't.
It's a choice, Chris. It's a choice.
There were a lot of choices. So before we get to our thoughts on the voting and start wrapping it all up, we need to talk about Interval, because I thought Interval was absolutely wonderful. I marked out for Teach-In. I love them. And
they look like teachers.
Now they do.
They look like teachers that have come back just to.
And as you pointed out with
for the talent contest, yes.
Yeah. And as you pointed out, Kristie, with that and the Troubadour,
yeah,
their vocals are better.
Yeah.
Oh.
As I said to my friend Darren in the UK, I said, I love when they can come back and they can still nail it.
Mm-hmm. Well, like Elena, she just
Elena Paparizou she's grown into that, and she's
hot.
Yes, she is.
She's hot.
Smoking.
Wow.
But her performance, and again, I know that she's now performed this song like a billion times, but she doesn't phone it in. She knows every inch of this thing, so she can play with the song a bit more.
Yes.
And I think that's with all of them now, their vocal range. And I go back to the This Woman's Work relaunch that Kate Bush did, where she re-recorded a bunch of her songs in her current vocal range with the more mature voice, and they sounded better. And I think we saw that Teach-In, that was good. The tone was different. And again, the Troubadour, that was beautiful.
It was beautiful. And I mean, I don't know if you've ever heard Joni Mitchell.
Yes.
She has the both sides now, and she was younger, and then she's done with the orchestra. Have you heard that?
Oh, yeah.
It brings a whole new thing to it. And that's how I felt about Troubadour. It brings a whole new maturity to it.
See, part of my head's just going, it's maturity. It's probably what's that thing that ladies get? It's
menopause.
Fuck my head. Oh, it's so early. It's been a long morning already.
Yeah, you guys, it's still very early there.
We're doing well.
10 o'clock. We've been up since 5.
So no, I agree. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I'm here for evil Santa Lordy.
Yeah.
Grizzled Lordy. He's been out in the wild.
And the best part is because Kristie said to me, she goes, they could rotate people behind him and it wouldn't matter. I said, they did. Half that band is brand new. The keyboardist left, I think it was about 6 months after Eurovision, the keyboardist left. So that's a new keyboardist. The only person you can't replace in that band is Mr. Lordy. And again, one of the things, what I like about Mr. Lordy is what I like about Duddy Freya, which is he's embraced the damn thing.
He owns it.
Like, there's no
he completely owns it.
Look at the people that do so well and are beloved, like Mons and things like that. They haven't backed away from Eurovision and gone, well, I'm beyond that. They're like, no, stick with it. Like,
I will say though, the Netherlands, yes, they've had 2 years to work on this. Their execution was fantastic.
Oh yeah, they did so well. And again,
it was
Nikkie tutorials, just Nikkie tutorials. She should have done more. She was by far and away like.
I now want to see her, Petra, and Mons and Graham Norton just all, hosting stuff together.
Yes.
You don't want the Graham Norton side of things.
I'm 50-50 on the Graham Norton, but I'll take it if it means I get the other 3.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would quite happily see. I think Nikkie tutorials and Mons hosting. If you can't get Petra, do it. Like just do it.
She's 27.
I know.
She has so much ahead of her. I can't wait to see what she does.
The thing I loved about it too, and I mentioned it in the semi-broadcast stuff when we talked about it, but for everyone who tries to argue that the social media and YouTube is not the same as no, you're right. It's not the same. She's so much better at talking to a camera than anybody in professional media.
She's more comfortable with it. That's what she grew up with.
Yeah, she looks down the barrel. She talks to an audience. Her job is not, I've got a job with a media corporation who are going to bring me people. I have to find them and I have to draw them to me. She is so good. Her interviews all the way through this, just outstanding.
You know, what I felt like on the interviews that she did do, she asked the questions and had the fun that I think we all want to have. Yes. And that's what brings us to her.
She had fun with the Queen of the Netherlands.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where she said to her about singing, and she went, I'm not going to sing there. She goes, oh, I was never going to make you do that.
Yeah.
And then he was like, you sing. And she's like, moving on. All of her interviews were so much joy. And again, the interview, and you directed me to it, the interview that she did with Darty and the Machine.
Oh.
She's done 2 because she did 1 last year and 1 this year.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, just before we move on to the last bit with the points and talking about that, the last thing I want to talk about from the interval, the bits in the car.
Yeah.
Were really good. Like they shot those 12 months ago and just went, keep them in the can, we'll need them.
Yeah. I mean, they really did a great job. They completely have raised the bar.
Oh, they have.
Yeah.
If everyone else gets 2 years to do it, great. All right. So voting. Now we'll skim it. We're not going to hit all of it. We're just going to skim the big bits. First of all,
let's talk about the nil pois.
3 of the big 5. Nil pois.
Wow.
James Newman from the UK.
He got nil pois.
And by the way, his celebration of nil pois, I loved. Throw the beer.
Yeah, but I mean, the crowd showed him love, and I think that's good, but it's also awkward.
What I thought was really interesting about it too was that I thought James Newman and Jendrik took it fine. I mean, I think Jendrik expected it. And I thought even the Netherlands took it fine. I don't think Spain accepted it very well.
No.
And the difference was, I think, that the audience was with James Newman a little bit for the 0-0.
Yeah.
They were with Jendrik because he's just fun. And they were with, obviously, the Netherlands. I don't think anyone gave a crap about Spain.
Well,
right.
They just weren't sure if he was still in mourning for someone new.
Yeah.
Maybe his great aunt, twice removed, died.
Somebody's died. And also, San Marino then coming next of all of those after getting in the celebrity endorsement is hilarious to me.
In the Australian writer's face, like
in the Australian coverage, the host went, let's see the flow rider effect, and they went 13 votes, and he went, oh.
The power of flow rider.
Okay.
Now, just before we move on, you didn't hear the Australian coverage, obviously, but Miff Warhurst who was one of the two Australian hosts. Joel Creasy was the other one, the one you saw on the coverage.
Yeah.
He's growing into his role.
Yeah, he started off as being the one that was a bit off and out there, and like you're like, oh, why is he doing this? Myth was sort of more dependable and a better broadcaster. Myth had an absolute shocker today. She kept on saying that every single person was a potential winner. This one could win. And at one point, he actually turned around with Mata Hari, and she goes, "Could Azerbaijan win?" And he just quickly went, "No." We got to 3 votes into the jury vote, and she goes, "Switzerland's got a lead. What's going to happen?" And we're like, we're 3 into 39 countries of the first half. Breathe. Okay,
this will mean nothing to you, Jay, but what is shitting me about them is that if this was a Rugby World Cup, you would know, you're a rugby person. So if this was a Rugby World Cup, you don't expect the commentators to dumb shit down for the people at home who might just be joining in for the first time. That's what it felt like she was doing.
Yep. The coverage today for Australia.
She's trying to build tension when there isn't any yet.
No.
And you didn't need to, because the end part of the televote built enough.
Yes, it did.
It's the most maths I do in a year. But it really is. I sit there and go, oh, there's not enough votes left. And after Italy got their votes, I looked at Kristie and I went, there's not enough votes left on the board.
No.
But I thought some of the other bits and pieces, again, Hooverphonic got exactly what I expected. Bulgaria did poorly. Sweden were on the wrong side of the board.
Can we talk about Sweden's vote?
Please.
Person was that was okay. First, she was getting felt up.
What? Really, Carola?
You didn't see that?
No.
So when they went to Sweden to get the points, did you not see that?
We saw them go to Sweden to get the points. Yeah, I saw Carola, because you can't miss her.
Well, no, like before they cut to her.
Yeah,
somebody was fixing her dress. Like there was a guy.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about. And we were all like, okay. And then after a while, it was like, just shut up and give the 12 points.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, we're going to get to that bit about Carola deciding to give a speech. I mean, like, you've won. You've already given your speech.
There are 2 countries who I will give extra time to. One, Moldova, when they put on Epic Sax Guy. He can play a solo. He can make a little joke. I'm here for it. That's fine. 2, Iceland.
We all agree on Iceland.
Nobody wanted to hear from Carola.
No.
Nobody. And I mean, look, we've all heard some of her views. Nobody wants to hear from Carola.
No.
Like, if you've ever heard any of her statements outside of Eurovision, no, you don't want to hear from her.
No.
So why are we letting
she was doing it?
Yeah, why are we giving her a long I mean, Monza's there, so we couldn't give the vote. Petra will only do hosting.
What about Lorraine? She's around.
No, Lorraine won't do anything with this.
What about the mamas? Just get the mamas out to do it.
Well, they wouldn't have done it. Danny Saucedo has done it in the past, but Danny wasn't going to do it.
And what's he from Take Me to Your Heavens? Not Charlotte Nelson's not doing anything because she's remaining tight-faced on the issue. But if she has one more facelift, she'll be a new person. Anyway,
She'll be wearing her vagina on her face.
She will. All right. The audience turned live.
Literal wood in the middle of the head.
The audience turned live on this voting. Couple of things. I thought it was one of the more fun votes, but having said that, it was because it was batshit.
Mm-hmm.
It was just mental. I don't understand what the hell happened.
Like the one that really still I can't get my head around is Malta.
Yep. So let's talk about it.
Yeah, 47.
Destiny manages to come 7th, even with getting 47. I don't understand it. You can't convince me there's not an error there.
Error or racism?
Both of them are errors, really.
It's true though. We've seen it before in Europe with their voting. I mean, look at John Lundvik.
Yeah.
Did really well with the judging, and again, shit popular vote. And you really can only put it down to.
And it's a very, 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 very white top 6.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Incredibly white top 6. In terms of the voting, I I love that Darty and the Machine managed to come fourth, given that they weren't there and everything else has been thrown in front of them. And as you said, and you're 100% right, they don't need to win. They should have. They don't need to.
They'll be the greatest act that never won Eurovision.
Yeah.
Yes.
Officially.
And if you don't think they're not going to be dragged out again and again and again, like, you're kidding yourself. He's also just announced his tour of North America, at which point it basically sold out instantly. There's still some tickets, I think, but for some second venues, but they opened the first lot of concerts up and just boom.
We now lose Jay in this podcast.
Yes,
go and
buy tickets.
No. I don't think they're opening anything up here in Canada right now because we're still under lockdown.
So we've got, obviously, the top 5 were Ukraine with 364. And I knew that would do well with home votes. It didn't do well on the juries, but it did really well at home. Darty with 378. Switzerland with 432, and then there were people freaking out about where Switzerland was at. And I said straight up, he is not going to do well in the popular vote. He's not going to win. He needed to be ahead. I thought he needed to be ahead by 200 votes, which is exactly what he would have needed. Because if you look at, actually, even then, it wouldn't have done it. Even then, 200 votes, Italy went so far past him that he got 180 odd. He needed more than that. France second, and she didn't do very well with the popular vote at all.
Not at all.
Italy just overwhelming.
I mean, once that number came up, I figured there was no beating them.
Yeah, particularly when we saw the run happen. They were nowhere. Darty was floating in the top 3 to 4. So was Malta in the jury votes.
Right.
And then towards the middle of the end, Italy.
They started to get their run.
And it was just seeing them pop up there. And then it became this 3-horse race of who would get the popular vote. And as soon as you hear that 350 pop out.
See, I was convinced at the end of the regular vote, the jury vote, I was convinced that Malta and Iceland were close enough.
I was too.
Yeah, and in a normal voting year, where you didn't just have that one juggernaut, if it was a normal voting year, they were close enough. We've seen that gap that they had overturned before. And if Iceland, here's the thing: if Malta had done half as well as expected, she probably wins it. That racism thing has to be something there, because I don't understand why it didn't do very well, apart from that and being buried at number 7.
Yeah.
And the look on her face broke my heart.
Yeah, I feel really bad for her. But again, I think she's going to win the Airplay Stakes.
I hope so. Because I want to see more of her.
It's the most commercial, and I think it's got the most chance of doing well.
And looking at the Eurovision fan Facebook groups, the commentary I see from a lot of the people in different European countries was that, she's just trying to be meta. And, she's a fat woman singing about empowerment. It's no different to another thin white woman singing about peace or broken love. There's tropes in Eurovision. But this is a particularly well done presentation of that.
And I've seen a few people here in North America, because now North America is paying attention to Eurovision because they're doing their own United States Eurovision type.
Isn't that called American Idol?
No, they're actually doing something. Each state has its own. This was announced, and now because of that, Eurovision was available on NBC in the States.
Through the Peacock streaming,
Peacock streaming. So a lot of people compared her to Lizzo, and they were like, "Oh, she's just copying Lizzo." I'm like, "There's more." No, A, and 2, there's more than enough room for female empowerment.
Absolutely,
by more than one person. What's your point?
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, I get it that they've had to look to Lizzo for some styling, but apart from that. I couldn't see Lizzo singing that song. That's not a
Lizzo song. It's not a Lizzo song. I think there are just people who see dark skin, see larger woman, and go, "Oh, that," and it's like, bullshit. Pay attention.
They try to fit it into a box that they are already aware of.
Yep.
Yes.
See,
No.
I thought she had her vocals were more on akin to Aretha Franklin. Like,
Yep,
I
that
just feel like
power.
she has such an awesome instrument like that. You can't, yeah,
Her range, she has range and power
Yep.
yeah.
And
There's-
control.
and control. Exactly. Yes. I mean, she can't.
And the timbre of her voice as well. Like, it's yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So to start to head towards our final thoughts, I do want to just put out that people were retweeting from the Eurovision film, the joke in the Eurovision film, where they're walking through before the song along,
Yeah.
and where they were like, "She's quite good, but everybody hates the UK, so 0 points." And there were people tweeting it out, going, "That's a joke, everybody, a joke." So coming off the back of you, first of all, if you thought that we were going to a COVID hotspot in the Netherlands, you won't see nothing yet until we get to Italy.
I kind of imagine Italy's hoping for another pandemic, so they have 2
Don't
years
have to host it.
for this.
Just combine it with San Remo.
Look, I'm just hoping their Moderna vaccine rollout really kicks in. It's a different world when you've got to start considering whether or not we're sending people to their deaths.
And from an Australian perspective, I'll be really interested to see what the Australian juries do next and what we do next in terms of the Australia decides. We talked about it before. I kind of feel a little bit like they were fulfilling a vague obligation to Montaigne. And because they want to dummy him.
Yeah, so basically the Australia Decides ended in 2019 with Dummy Im announcing that she's coming back for Eurovision 2020 and that will decide on the song that she performs.
Yes.
But, you know...
Then they didn't send Montaigne for the last one.
Had a different
and
idea.
so Montaigne was allowed to go again. And I kind of feel like it was all... I felt bad for Montaigne, as I said. I felt like they offered her up as we don't want to send Dummy into this one. So we'll hold Dummy off for a year and we'll send Montaigne as you need to do this for Australia. I thought she did really well.
She did.
Really bad for her. I think she's come out of this really well with all of her interactions with the other contestants.
I'd like to see her, Ukraine and Dadi do like some collaborations.
Yeah.
The three of them did really well.
Yeah, I thought she did really well, especially since she couldn't be there.
Yeah.
I think it would have been harder to perform.
5 a.m. in the
she
morning.
Was performing at 5:23 in a studio in Sydney.
Exactly, and you don't
with
get the
20
feedback.
20 friends and family in the room.
Yeah, so I mean, I think she did really, really, really well.
Yeah.
Okay, so final thoughts. We'll start with you, Kristie, and then we'll go to Jay.
Me, look, I'm happy for it to be in Italy. You know, like I would have loved to have seen it in Malta. I'm disappointed about the Eurovision we could have had in Iceland, but you know, one day Iceland will win, and hopefully it'll still be when Will Ferrell and Rachel McAdams are still alive and can bring Volcano Man to the stage. I'd like to see Dadi and the Machine perform.
I don't think we've seen the last of Dadi and the Machine somehow.
No.
Jay, your final thoughts.
You know, I feel the same. I think Malta was robbed. That's my own personal opinion. Iceland was robbed. Italy, I'm okay with. I'm curious to see how they handle it. As I said, it wasn't my favorite song, but you know what? They had a solid performance, and I can't deny that. Voting was crazy this year. The Brexit effect was more than I could have ever imagined.
I don't see that changing for a long time to come.
The other interesting thing I want to just add in here before I sort of wrap it all up is the major phone carrier in Australia had an issue where they wouldn't accept premium SMS, which is what you have to send through to get the votes through.
Yeah.
So anyone on Telstra could not get their votes through.
Wow.
No, it did.
Yeah, we've had this problem a few times where Australian votes have may or may not have counted. A couple of years ago, we had that where everyone sent the messages and then we got a bulk message at the end going, none of these votes have counted.
Yeah.
And we can't use the app to vote. We
Right.
can only use the phone lines. So, yeah, you've got to try to... So if you were on the major network in Australia, you couldn't vote. I'm not, so I could. And my votes, obviously, are what carried Iceland over the line in the Australian telly vote. We were voting frantically for Iceland. Yeah, my overall view is I thought it was a very top-heavy Eurovision. I thought it's very rare that you'd get a batch of about 6 or 7 songs which you look at and go, these are all fairly good and could do well. And I thought it was the heaviest batch we've ever seen.
last I seem to remember, because I'm old, so my memory's kind of shit, but last year I seem to think I felt there were more contenders.
Absolutely.
But this year, once I got down to it and I started paying attention, there were more good solid songs than I expected or thought that there were there.
The biggest
So
yeah.
when you got into it, it was a little bit of like, okay, I could see this is going to be a little tougher than I thought.
I think the biggest thing for me was that, like, I thought 2019 there were really, 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 really good songs that should have been there, but it became very clear after about in the 2 weeks leading into Eurovision that Arcade was going to win, and it was already predetermined that Arcade was going to win, and it didn't really matter what else happened in that competition. Arcade was going to win. And my last point, which I think played into this Malta thing too, and I mentioned it before, but I do want to close with it. I hate the way that Eurovision media is becoming self-fulfilling prophecies and basically telling everybody what's going to happen. And all we got for 2 weeks leading in, if you paid any attention to Eurovision media, was Italy and France, Italy and France, Italy and France. Everyone else has got lovely songs, but we don't really care. It's Italy and France. Because Italy came realistically from nowhere.
Yeah.
They weren't on, I mean, because we don't get the media here, they weren't even on my radar.
No,
same.
About 2 weeks out is when Italy suddenly popped up and everyone went, oh, Italy. But that hadn't happened yet. Before that, it was Destiny and Switzerland had been this bad. And France were the same, by the way. The French appeared out of absolutely nowhere too.
No.
So it was this late France movement and late Italy movement. And that was this media self-fulfilling prophecy shit. And
not here for it.
I don't like it. And I like the idea of, if you actually did a dive and went through these songs, as you said, Jay, there were so many songs you could talk yourself into.
Yeah.
They were good. Like, I think the time helped a lot of people.
Yeah.
Not Moldova, but the time helped a lot of people. And not the UK. Definitely not the UK.
Definitely not the UK.
So that is going to do us. Thank you so much, Jay, for coming on.
Oh, thank you for having me. It was great to see you guys again.
Oh, it's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Anything you wish to promote while we're here?
I'm doing nothing. So
Jay is here standing for nothing, and we can get behind that.
I bake when I can, and that's about it. So
that is a motto to live by, folks. I bake when I can, and that's about it. So, by the way, I am leaving the dog drinking in there because it was a highlight for me.
Please do.
Thank you very much, Jay. Thank you as always. Kristie, until next time, I'm still Chris.
And I'm still Kristie.
We will
I'm
catch
still
you all. And we will catch you all later.